Picture this.
Yeah.
You're sitting on a white sandy beach. The turquoise water's lapping at your feet. Maybe there's a cold drink in your hand. Condensation dripping down the glass. It's absolute paradise. And then that little voice in your head, the one that loves a good daydream, starts whispering, man, I could live here. Or even better, I could own a piece of this. We've all had that vacation fantasy, right? Especially in a place like Phuket, Thailand.
It's the classic vacation conversion. It happens to the best of us. You fall in love with the lifestyle, the food, the climate, and suddenly you're scrolling real estate listings on your phone while you're supposed to be relaxing.
Exactly. It feels like a stroke of genius in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
You think, I'll buy a villa, use it for holidays, rent it out the rest of the year.
Yeah.
It pays for itself.
Mm.
But then you get home, the tan fades, and you realize that buying property in a foreign country, specifically a tropical kingdom with a completely different legal system, is not exactly like leasing a condo down the street.
No, it is definitely not. That's where the fantasy often hits a wall of very complicated reality. It's less like buying a house and more like solving a puzzle.
And that is exactly what we're unpacking today. We're looking at the Phuket real estate market, not just as a holiday dream, but as a serious investment frontier. And to keep us from getting lost in the weeds, we're basing this deep dive on insights from Ocean Worldwide.
Which is a crucial distinction. We aren't looking at, travel blogs or random online forums here. Ocean Worldwide is a luxury real estate agency that's been based right there in Phuket since 2004. So we're talking about over 2 decades of on-the-ground experience.
That is a lifetime in a market like that. And specifically, we're looking at the expertise of Sandra O'Neill. She's the director of the agency. She has helped thousands of families and investors navigate this market. So she's seen the booms, the busts, everything. If anyone knows where the hidden treasures are buried, it's her team.
Right. And the mission for this deep dive is pretty specific. We want to decode what the source material calls the maze of the Phuket property market. Because it turns out buying a villa in the tropics isn't quite as simple as clicking buy now.
I love that maze analogy. I feel like I'd walk in looking for a beach house and just get completely lost. So let's start with the landscape. When we talk about Phuket, aside from the pretty beaches, what is actually driving this market?
It's a busy, pretty sophisticated marketplace, and according to Ocean Worldwide, it's driven by 3 main pillars. You have to understand these, understand why prices do what they do. First, obviously, is tourism.
Right, but it's not just people are on holiday.
No, it's about seasonality. The economy is so heavily tied to visitor numbers. When the island is packed during high season, Christmas, New Year, demand for rentals goes through the roof, prices tick up. But you also have the green season, the monsoon season. If your financial model assumes 100% occupancy year-round, you are going to be in for a shock.
So pillar 1 is volatility based on tourists. What's number 2?
Infrastructure. This is the boring stuff that actually drives value. New roads, better transport links, airport expansions, these things can instantly change the game for an area.
It effectively shrinks the island.
Precisely. And the third pillar is foreign investment. This is a double-edged sword. It brings a massive amount of capital into the island, which helps build these incredible luxury developments. But it also pushes prices up, way up. It creates this luxury tier of property that's completely detached from the local Thai economy.
So you have local prices, and then you have global investor prices.
Correct. And knowing the difference is key so you don't overpay.
Okay, so let's talk geography then. If I'm looking at a map of Phuket, trying to figure out where to park my money, where are the hot spots, the source mentions established paths.
Right. So if you want the buzz, the high visibility, you're looking at the West Coast. Places like Patong, Kata, and Kamala, these are your high-volume tourist areas.
Patong is the party capital, right?
Yeah.
Neon lights, nightlife, all that.
It's intense, yeah. But Kata is a bit more refined, though still very, very busy. The source actually mentions checking out a 4-bedroom villa in Kata as a sort of benchmark, just to see what established luxury looks like. You pay a premium there, but you get foot traffic.
You're paying for convenience and guaranteed rental demand. But what if I want to be ahead of the curve? The Brooklyn before it was cool? Where's the up-and-coming spot?
That would be the south. Areas like Rawai and Shillong.
Rawai and Shillong. Okay. What's the vibe there?
Much more relaxed. You've got marinas, a lot of boating, a much stronger expat community living there long-term. They're considered emerging. The fascinating thing here is the potential for value growth. Because they aren't fully saturated yet, values are likely to climb.
The classic path of progress play.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
trade the immediate bustle of Patong for the potentially higher capital appreciation of Geelong, the market shifts constantly.
Which leads us perfectly into why doing this alone is so dangerous. We're back to that maze analogy.
Yes, the source compares the market to a maze where, without a guide, you will just hit dead ends.
Okay, let's unpack this because I'm a bit of a DIY guy. I have apps on my phone. I can see listings online. Why can't I just browse the internet and email the owner? Why do I need a guide?
That is the million-dollar question, and here's where it gets really interesting. In Phuket, a huge chunk of the market, and often the best chunk, is off-market.
Off market. Like a secret menu at a restaurant.
Basically. Sandra O'Neill and her team at Ocean Worldwide, they really emphasize this. Local agents have access to deals that never hit the public websites.
Why would a seller hide their property? Don't they want buyers?
Not always publicly. I mean, maybe an owner wants to sell quietly for privacy reasons, a divorce, or a business issue where they don't want to spook their staff. Or maybe a developer needs to move stock quickly for cash flow and offers a deal to an agent-specific client list. They can't advertise that low price publicly.
Ah, I see. So if I'm just browsing the web, I'm seeing the leftovers, or at least I'm not seeing the full picture.
You're seeing the retail price, not the wholesale opportunity. And it's not just about access, it's about the nuance check. A listing looks great online, but a local agent knows that the empty field next door is zoned for a 24-hour nightclub that starts construction next month.
That is definitely not in the brochure.
Or they know which street gets flooded in the heavy rains. Ocean Worldwide says this is about building a relationship, not just a transaction.
And they probably know what a fair price actually is, so I don't get taken for a ride as a foreigner.
Exactly. Preventing overpaying is huge. But there's another layer to this local intel that I found fascinating. It's what they call the expert support network.
Which sounds like a very corporate way of saying people who fix stuff.
It is, but think about the context. You're in the tropics, high humidity, salt air, intense sun. The way you maintain a property there is totally different.
Oh, that's a good point. Nature's basically trying to eat your house 24/7.
It really is. You need contractors who know how to handle tropical conditions. If you hire a guy who just builds standard walls without the right additives, you might have mold in 6 months. A good local agent connects you with those reliable people.
Okay, so we have the lay of the land, and we know we need a guide. Now we have to talk about the part that scares everyone. The legal side. The Rubik's Cube.
It is definitely the most complex part of the whole discussion.
I feel like this is the elephant in the room. I've always heard that foreigners can't own land in Thailand. Is that true?
It is generally true, but with big asterisks. The Thai government is very protective of its land. So let's break it down into two categories: land and condos.
Okay, land first. I want a villa with a garden.
As a foreigner, you generally cannot own that land outright in your name. You can own the building, the structure, but not the actual soil underneath it.
So how does anyone do it? I see foreigners in villas all the time.
The most common solution is a long-term leasehold agreement. Typically, this is a 30-year lease registered at the land office.
30 years? That doesn't sound very permanent.
It isn't, but it's usually structured with options to renew. So you might have a 30 plus 30 setup giving you 90 years. But, and this is a big but, that contract has to be absolutely watertight.
Right. What about condos? Are they different?
Condos are the exception. This is where you hear about the 49% quota.
The 49% quota, what does that mean?
In a licensed condominium project, foreigners can own units freehold, meaning you own it outright, title deed in hand, just like back home, but only up to 49% of the total sellable space in that building can be foreign-owned. The other 51% must be owned by Thai nationals.
So if I find a dream condo, but the building is already at its 49% foreign limit.
You can't buy it freehold. You're out of luck. You'd have to look at a leasehold option for that unit or find another building.
Wow. Okay, this is already getting complicated. I can see why people get nervous.
And that is why the source stresses due diligence so heavily. They say skipping this is like building a house on sand. You have to verify the title deed.
What are we verifying exactly?
Well, is the person selling the property actually the legal owner? You'd be surprised. Are there different grades of land titles? Yes. You need to make sure you're getting the best one, a Shanote title. You don't want to accidentally buy land that's actually protected national park.
That sounds like a nightmare scenario.
It's happened. Also, you need to check for encumbrances. Is the property being used as collateral for a loan you don't know about?
And I assume this is where the advice to get a lawyer comes in.
Absolutely. The source is very clear on this. Do not try to navigate Thai property law alone. You need a reputable local lawyer, not your friend from back home,
Yeah.
but someone who knows the Phuket Land Office inside and out.
Got it. Lawyer up. Okay, let's move to something more fun. Making money. Because for a lot of people, this isn't just a holiday home, it's an investment. How do you monetize paradise?
Well, there are two main paths, active income and passive income.
Let's start with active. I'm guessing this is the Airbnb route.
Yes, short-term or holiday lets. Because of that tourism pillar we talked about, the profit potential is really high. You can command great rates in peak season.
But I imagine that comes with a lot of work.
A ton of work. You're essentially running a micro hotel. You need good Wi-Fi, air conditioning, great photos. You have to manage listings, deal with turnover,
Guests losing keys, complaining about the rain.
all of it. If you aren't on the island, you're paying a management company a big chunk to handle that for you.
Okay, what if I'm, let's say, risk averse?
Then you look at net guarantee programs.
That sounds safer. How does that work?
You see this a lot with new developments. You buy a unit, and you sign a contract where they manage it and pay you a guaranteed return, say 6 or 7% a year, for a set period.
Regardless of whether anyone stays there.
Correct. You get the check, even if it's empty. It offers certainty. The trade-off is a lower profit ceiling, but for peace of mind, it's very popular.
Sounds like a good option for someone living halfway across the world.
Yeah.
Now, what about taxes?
The tax man always gets his cut. But it's not just about paying, it's about deductions. This is a key insight from the source. Owners can deduct mortgage interest, repair costs, management fees,
Oh, that's good to
and they mention depreciation as a non-cash expense to lower your tax bill. Again, this is why you need a local tax advisor.
It all circles back to maintenance, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The source mentioned something about a leaky tap affecting your ROI.
Yes, the return on investment. It seems small, but in a competitive rental market, happy tenants stay longer. If the AC breaks and you don't fix it instantly, you get bad online reviews and your asset value effectively drops.
So don't skimp on the maintenance. Okay, so we have the location, the team, the legal, and the money plan. Now we actually have to buy the thing. Walk us through it.
The process is pretty straightforward, but you have to follow it. Generally, you sort your finance and pay a reservation deposit. Then you sign a preliminary agreement, which kicks off the due diligence period.
That's when the lawyers do their digging.
Right. And if that all checks out, you go to the land office for the official transfer of ownership.
Sounds standard enough. But I bet there are hidden costs.
There's always sticker shock. You need to budget for the extras. There's a transfer fee, which is usually around 2%, often split. Then there's stamp duty, which is about 0.5%.
So that adds up.
It does. And there are other taxes, too. You need to factor in roughly an extra 3% to 6% on top of the purchase price so you aren't scrambling for cash at the last minute.
Now, before we wrap up, the source talks about off-plan buying. What's that?
It's higher risk, but higher reward. Buying off-plan means buying into a development before or even during construction. The entry price is significantly lower than a finished unit.
So you make money just by waiting for it to be finished.
Ideally.
Hmm.
But, and this is a huge caution from Ocean Worldwide, you absolutely need a reputable developer. If the developer runs out of money, you're in trouble. You're funding the construction with your payments.
So if they stop building, you're left with a concrete skeleton.
Exactly. So again, local experts who know which developers have a 20-year track record are crucial.
And finally, the source brings up something I hadn't even thought about. The exit strategy.
Yes. They ask you to think about the end before the beginning. Are you buying this to sell in 5 years for a quick profit? Or are you holding it for 20 years for retirement income?
Because that changes what you buy, right?
Completely. A quick flip needs a high-demand liquid area. A long hold might mean you can bet on an up-and-coming area. Real estate in Phuket isn't a stock. You can't just hit sell on an app.
So what does this all mean? The aha moment here is that Phuket isn't just a holiday spot. It is a sophisticated, complex market that really rewards professionalism.
That is the key takeaway. You cannot treat this like a casual hobby. The people who succeed are the ones who build a local team. They have the agent, the lawyer, the tax advisor.
It's specifically a team that has been there for a while.
Right. Which brings us back to our source. This whole deep dive was based on expertise from Ocean Worldwide. They've been navigating this maze since 2004. Sandra O'Neill and her team have seen it all. They know the history of the land, not just the current price.
It really highlights the value of experience.
Yeah.
If you're listening and thinking, okay, I'm ready to stop dreaming and start looking, You should probably check them out.
Absolutely. You can visit oceanwwp.com. That's OCEANWWWP.com. Whether you want to browse listings or just get some professional advice, that's the place to start.
And as we leave you today, here's a final thought to mull over. We talked about off-plan versus emerging neighborhoods.
It's an interesting trade-off, isn't it? Is the real value in buying what exists now in a busy area or betting on the infrastructure of tomorrow in a quiet area like Geelong? The market is shifting south. The quiet spots of today might be the gold mines of tomorrow.
Something to think about while you look at those beach photos on your phone. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
Until next time.